Okay, so you can imagine that a receptor, right, a postsynaptic receptor that results in calming, right, of the brain, relaxation of activity, right, inhibition of action potentials, would be the target for a lot of drugs, right? So it turns out that GABA agonists, remember an agonist is a chemical that acts like the neurotransmitter at the receptor, where the drug action is occurring. So a GABA agonist is going to act like GABA, right? It'll relieve anxiety. These drugs actually tend to relieve anxiety. We actually, the sort of fancy term is they're anxiolytic. They lyse or they destroy anxiety, right? And they reduce seizures, right? They actually prevent, activity, excessive activity of the brain. So drugs that will act at GABA-A ionotropic receptors as agonists include diazepam, right? Valium, right, is the same. They're also the barbiturates like phenobarbital, for example. It turns out there are some steroids that you produce sort of naturally in the brain, actually, that are called neurosteroids. They also act to relieve, activity of nerve cells by hyperpolarizing these cells, by acting like GABA at these GABA-A receptors. And it turns out that alcohol also will, calm the brain. We'll learn that it tends to initially act in the frontal lobe, which is, an area that's essential, as we learned, for judgment and, motor planning and decision making. So it tends to shut off, inhibition of emotional expression, things like that. But it exerts those particular effects by influencing the GABA-A receptor as a GABA agonist.